what you are saying does sound to me like some of the stuff that was said in Victorian England in the 19th century in relation to France with the rise to power of Napoleon III, the Empire of France, a lot of these people developed a Caesar or Augustus fetish, in the sense that they looked to the past to justify a fairly dictatorial role in the present, or a role in the present that would hopefully, in their minds, stave off what they saw as the collapse of hierarchies and the emergence of the problem, in their view, of mass democracy. So all of this stuff is described in great depth by Marx in his writings on Louis Napoleon, where he has the most famous line, which is, "The tradition of all dead generations weighs like a nightmare on the brains of the living." And his point was that there are numerous political trends in our era who cannot justify themselves on their own terms. So what they start to do is to borrow from the language of the past and from the historical figures of the past, and they start to fetishize those people, take them out of their historical context, and turn them into these epoch-defying beings who can justify all manner of political approaches in the present. So I put it to you, aren't you doing what people in Britain in the 19th century did when they looked rather enviously upon Louis Napoleon as the enforcer of order in chaotic France? Aren't you doing what Marx criticized people for doing more than 150 years ago, which is borrowing the garb and the language and the ideas of the past, and possibly even fetishizing them, to justify an approach to politics in the present that might not be justifiable on its own contemporary terms?
First of all, I'm proud and happy to disagree with Marx. I think that contempt for the past, which is the whole Marxist tradition is redolent of, is what historians call presentism, is one of the largest diseases of our time. Furthermore, I think that those Victorians who including my, of course, personal guru Carlyle, who, maybe he may not have fallen for a Louis Napoleon who was just a mountebank. I can, that's a little too strong for Louis Napoleon, but he's no Napoleon, that's for sure. Napoleon was the real deal. Yeah. Imagine, if you will, I know that you have this parochial contempt for the past.
No.
But imagine, put yourself in the minds, put yourself in your present mind, and imagine yourself going to you dressed appropriately, etc. You go to a dinner party of those same Victorians who admired Louis Napoleon and had contempt for Marx, and you show them the future, which is certainly the future made by Marx and not by Louis Napoleon. And you're just like, see, imagine how bad it would have been if we'd chosen the other path. And, they see a Britain in uttermost decay. I was looking at some olds. This was on a parliament.co.uk a site, so I know it was legitimate. If you look at the rates of robbery in Victorian England, all, a level of like control of social order, all achieved without fingerprints, without CCTV, without any of this stuff. There was about one robbery in the 1890s. There was about one robbery per day in all of England. Today, there's that many probably per hour in London. And so, when you see this extraordinary collapse of Britain as they would have judged it, I know that you believe that you've transcended all of that and gone into a new and more glorious era, but they would have judged it differently, you must acknowledge. And then you show them this, or, let's say you go all the way back to David Hume, who believed that monarchy was by far the best form of government. And you argue that case with Hume. And you have the evidence of, Britain's, spectacular, position in 2022, where it's this humiliating dependency of dependency, because Europe is an American dependency, that you're like, oh yeah, the country is just overrun and decivilized in ways that I can't even begin to describe, because your show has to be broadcast in the UK. And and by the way, the loss of freedoms is just insane, right? And you're like, okay, yeah, actually we made the right choice here. And you would probably make a Jacobite of him. I will venture that he would basically go back and say, you know what, James I was absolutely right. And this whole thing of like a mixed constitution and a mixed monarchy. Nope. James the First had it right. Really, what we need in England today is a new Henry VII. Not even Henry VIII. Henry VIII was, I think, too soft for present conditions.